What's up guys, my name is Stoody and I'd like to welcome you all back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my round 13 tips for the 2023 AFL season. Now before we get into this week's tips, I'm going to go ahead and have a look and see how I went last week. Now, last week was a pretty shit week. I got 5 out of 7 tips correct, so not really that good. And I now have a total of 75 correct tips for the season. Now let's just have a look and see what ones I got correct. So I got Melbourne correct, Port Adelaide correct, Collingwood correct, Richmond correct, and Essendon correct. The ones I got incorrect were Geelong and Gold Coast. Also, I heard those games were both rigged, which is not a surprise at all. There's no way Gold Coast beat Adelaide legitly, and there's no way Geelong beat the Western Bulldogs legitly. Let's just move on to this week's tips. So for some bullshit reason, the Thursday night games are back despite it being bye rounds, which is really retarded. There should never be Thursday night games unless it's, the season opener or the Easter Thursday. That's the only time I feel like it's appropriate to have a Thursday night game. But anyway, we have Sydney taking on St Kilda at the SCG. I'm going to be giving Sydney in this one by 13 points. So Sydney got a much needed win last week against the Blues. So confidence should be up. St Kilda's form hasn't been that good lately. Plus it's at Sydney's home ground, so I just think because it's at home for the Swans, I think the safe option is just to tip the Swans in this one. Moving on to Friday night, we have the Western Bulldogs taking on Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. I'm going to be tipping the Western Bulldogs in this one by 16 points, mainly because it's at the Western Bulldogs home ground. I mean, anything can happen in this one. I think Port are definitely due for a loss, and teams usually start games the way they finish them the week prior. And Port Adelaide were absolutely awful in the second half against Hawthorn. Like, how can you fuck up a 100-point half and only score 150? Like, that's just shit. I don't know how 74% have tipped Port Adelaide, but I'm tipping the Bulldogs, and hopefully I can get back in business with this tip. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, we have Hawthorn taking on Brisbane at the MCG. I'm going to be tipping Brisbane in this one by 56 points. Not really much else to say here. Brisbane are top 4 team. Hawthorn are trying not to finish down the bottom. So that tip is pretty obvious. Moving on to Saturday twilight, we have Adelaide taking on the West Coast Eagles at Adelaide Oval. I'm going to be tipping Adelaide in this one by 52 points. I think this one's pretty obvious as well. West Coast are a joke. Adelaide are trying to make the 8. So you'd think Adelaide would easily be able to account for West Coast at home, especially after the Crows got robbed last week against the Suns. They'll be pissed off about that, so they'll want to really smash West Coast. Moving on to Saturday night, we have Fremantle taking on Richmond at Optus Stadium. Now, I do think Richmond will win this one, but I'm still going to tip Fremantle in this one by 1 point. Mainly, it's just a defensive tip because there's another tip that's a risk that I'm going for this week. I try not to go more than 2, risky tips per week. So that's the only reason. Plus there's match fixing. We usually get robbed against Fremantle. So it's a defensive tip. Richmond should win it, but I'm still going to tip Fremantle just being on the defense. Plus Richmond still have a VFL team. Despite having a VFL team, they should be able to beat an AFL caliber Fremantle. Assuming there's no match fixing. But since there probably will be match fixing, Richmond will probably be robbed in this game. Moving on to Sunday afternoon, we have North Melbourne taking on GWS Giants at Marvel Stadium. I'm going to be tipping the GWS Giants in this one by 7 points. This is another tip that can go either way. Can certainly see North beating GWS since North are in some decent form. They have had a few close losses lately, whereas the Giants, they're in some okay form too. I know they lost last week, but they did beat Geelong just a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to go the Giants, but not with a whole heap of confidence. This is where it gets even more retarded. Why the fuck would you have a Thursday night game if you're going to have a fucking Sunday night and a Monday game? It's fucking retarded. But anyway, we have Carlton taking on Essendon on Sunday fucking night at the MCG. Like, no one's going to watch this shit. Got work the next day. It's bullshit. I'm going to tip Carlton in this one. This is the risky tip. I'm going to be tipping Carlton by 8 points. Mainly because Carlton, they're better than Essendon. Like, Essendon is severely overrated, whereas Carlton, I know they're in some terrible form. They've lost 7 of their last 8, but they're due. They're due for a win. Surely they get one here. Surely. Someone needs to bring Essendon back to reality. Like, seriously. Essendon are severely overachieving, and I'd probably say Carlton are severely underachieving. Carlton are definitely better than Essendon, so they should win. Simple as that. Moving on to Monday fucking afternoon, where everyone's going to be at work. We have Melbourne taking on Collingwood at the MCG. It's the big freeze game. It used to be the Queen's birthday game until they moved the Queen's birthday to October. But for some reason in Melbourne, they still think it's in June. Retards. I'm going to be doing Collingwood in this one by 17 points, mainly because Melbourne have quite a few injuries. Do you think Collingwood would be able to take care of Melbourne in this one due to that fact? It's just hard to tip Melbourne because of that. Anyway, that's it for this video. Feel free to comment your tips in the comment section down below. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this. Be sure to click the thumbs up button and leave a like on this video. Also be sure to become a channel member. Just click the join button next to my name. Also be sure to join my Discord server. It is called Australian Sports Community. Link to that is in the description. Also be sure to subscribe to my second YouTube channel. It is called Stoody Archives. Link to that is also in the description. Also be sure to follow me on my other social media accounts. I have Instagram, I have Twitter, and I also have TikTok. The username for all those is StoodyYT. Links to all those will also be in the description. I hope you all had a good day, and I'll see you all in the next video.